Sam, I see has the demo up on the screen. Raymond, can you see Sam's screen?
I can.
Okay, great. Well, Sam, I'll let you take it away and let us know what we're going to see today.
Perfect. Yep. And so, based on our previous conversations, we've gathered the requirements. We kind of understand that we're going to be doing a phased approach and not doing both sides simultaneously. So we are going to focus on the supply side originally. Is that just want to confirm that?
So, so I think we're just going to do the one site, and we're going to sell everything through that other company through supply.
Perfect. Okay. And just to confirm there, right, those aren't treated as two separate subsidiaries, are they?
So they are, but what's going to happen is we're going to sell that product to the other subsidiary, and the website doesn't have to do any transfers or anything. We'll we'll sell that inventory, and I'll sell it as inventory from the supply subsidiary.
Excellent. You kind of nailed my question. Perfect. Great. So yeah, Sweet Commerce is still definitely going to work for that aspect, and good to hear too about the way that you're streamlining that presentation. So we'll be able to showcase in Sweet Commerce. We'll talk about a typical customer experience. We'll walk through the ability to navigate for certain products, leveraging the facet filtering, discuss a little bit more about the architecture, the ability to request quotes, pay on terms. We'll go through that whole checkout process. Once we've completed an order, we'll pop over to the back end of the system inside of NetSuite, showcase how that order was placed in real time. And then we'll come back into the My Account section to basically give you an overview of how your B2B customers can see their outstanding invoices, see their omni-channel purchase history, as well as manage their account, things like shipping addresses, billing information, credit cards, things like that. But does that sound like a good agenda for today?
Yeah, perfect.
Excellent. Okay. And you'll notice that I do have two sites up. So I was kind of chatting with Sarah yesterday about this too. We did release a new feature for the catalog segmentation called personalized catalog views. And so I wanted to make sure that I had an environment that was able to provide that. So on our previous call, we talked about our item groups able to be leveraged as part of that catalog segmentation. And they definitely are, right? So we're able to leverage that feature. But one thing I did want to call out was in the new personalized catalog view, we have a really great way to visualize how these products are applied to different customer segments. So I can have a group of customers that are able to see individual product supply, not just on a category level, right? So we may have an outdoor category displayed, but also just on a collection of items. So the groups are going to be more for like customer groups with those segments, but we do have those item collections that you can create and then apply to be able to assign certain products to certain customers. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Perfect, no problem. And I'll actually showcase kind of how that looks on this environment today as well. So when we do see our main page right out of the gate, this is leveraging one of our templates. Have you guys looked at the list of templates that we had available? I know we shot out an email.
Yes, we did, and I think this is the template we were actually looking at.
Excellent. Yep, most popular B2B one. And you do get a lot of additional aspects here too, with the ability to use site management tools. If you want to make tweaks, I was actually on the CIS Supply website the other day, and I was trying to match the color of the banner, but it was a little bit more complicated than that, just because it looked like you had the blue banner at the top, and then it went white and white down here. So I just decided to keep it mainstream. But in terms of being able to make a modification on that, like let's just open up site management tools so you get a good visualization of this. This is the drag and drop user interface. It's designed to be a little bit more streamlined. So you don't have to go and create extensions when you want to just modify a page, for example. So as a business user, I can go in and I can add additional content. You see these dotted lines appearing throughout the page?
Mm-hmm.
Those are all the different areas that I can drop additional content into. So if I wanted to, create a landing page for an upcoming sale, or we have a blowout, we can create a landing page and actually drop that content into these different areas, whether that be an image or something else, right? Like I can put in custom code. And then I can also have not only pages appear on specific dates, but actually individual content that's created to go up and down. Again, just going back to that sale concept, when we are pushing that out, no one wants to be the person to have to push a new page live and take it down to 11:59 on a Friday and then on a Sunday. So you can schedule pages as well as individual content to go up and down based on your settings.
Great, good features.
And just real quick, I wanted to show, kind of how simple it is to be able to make those modifications. So when we're talking about that personalization layer, as we can see, I was able to incorporate the logo pretty easily. But when we're talking about making the changes to the color scheme or the font format, all that's going to be available inside of here, right? So I'm seeing an editing aspect, so it's not going to actually hit the site, but we are able to preview what's kind of going on. So when I was talking about making the modifications to the color right here, I can go in and if we wanted to, we can make this red and we can get a good visualization before we push it live to be able to have that full control without needing to go to the depth of modifying the code itself. So anyone's really able to capture this.
Great.
Right, and as you can see, there's a ton of different options inside of here. Full flexibility in terms of the layout. I just really want you to know that whatever the design initiative is from a theme color scheme, we're going to be able to support that. And if there are anything additional, any additional functions that we're looking to achieve, we can definitely facilitate that, but those would just be in the form of customizations. Based on our previous call, I wasn't seeing too much that kind of jumped out at me as like, no, we're going to need to customize this. So we can cover that more on our alignment call, which is the next steps, just to make sure that we're capturing those requirements and identifying, hey, this would just be out of the box. We'll probably want to discuss that during implementation, or we're going to have to build something out to facilitate it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Perfect. Okay, so let's hop back to the other side and let's take a look at this shop page. So when we are browsing the products right now, I'm currently not logged in, right? I'm just a general user, and we can lock this down in a series of ways. So if I wanted to require access to even access the site, I can require a login before any products are shown, or if we wanted to display our catalog, but not show pricing, that's just an out-of-the-box configuration checkbox, and it'll easily be able to modify. So if you did want to transition down the line to incorporate a B2C aspect, that's something that you can completely do. And a lot of customers actually go through that process where we're starting B2B, we're going to lock down the site, and then once we do want to introduce the B2C components, we'll be able to bring it forward.
Gotcha.
Excellent. We do see our faceted navigation on our left-hand side. So if you're familiar with Amazon, for example, when we do click these individual facets, we're going to have it filter automatically. So all the content will re-render. Note too that we didn't have to refresh the entire page, right? So we're getting that seamless experience through what's called single page architecture. Instead of having to reload the whole page, like the header will reload, the navigation will reload, all those additional components, that's mitigated, right? So you're reducing the network traffic and ultimately increasing that customer experience, just making it a lot more smooth and streamlined. Keep in mind too that while we can have these faceted navigations applied, these are just stored directly on the customer record, or sorry, on the item record, and you'll be able to expose them to the platform. If you notice that once you do go live with the site and some of these products aren't appearing, it's probably because the item record hasn't been set up. And that's actually an issue that I've seen several customers come to me with. It's just like, oh, well, show me where it is on the item record. And he's like, oh, it was never set. So just a good thing to be conscious of. We want to make sure that our customers are able to focus on the products that they want to and quickly get to that checkout process. So introducing those additional steps, it's kind of a headache when you look for those facets and then ultimately don't have the products appearing.
Perfect.
Right. We do also offer the quick view So instead of having to go inside of the system, inside of each product detail page, customers can just quickly go and add products to their cart. They can add them to wish lists. They can add them to quotes. So again, we're not requiring that extra page load step. The entire platform is really kind of designed around the fastest path to conversion, right? Again, introducing additional steps, introducing additional clicks has been proven to decrease or increase cart abandonment. Customers just kind of get fed up when they have to do a lot of navigation through it. And ultimately, this process, as you see within a few clicks, I can add products to the cart pretty darn easily, right? Or add it to a quote for our B2B customers. If we're having customers who are going to be putting together a large purchase, we're going to be able to put that in a quote and then use that for yourselves to be able to kind of negotiate if there's like, hey, maybe I can get a discount on shipping, or we can go a little bit deeper and be like, maybe this product price, or maybe because of the size of this order, we're going to add a 5% discount, things like that. But you can have that two-way communication, and it's not like your sales team is going to need to be the ones to do that. The customer can actually request that, and you can approve or deny that. Once it is approved, the customer would be able to add those items to the cart and complete that transaction.
Mhm. On this jacket we're looking at, the options that you can select, what does that look like on NetSuite for that item? Is there separate items for each one of those
Sure. Which one are we
options?
looking
Or
at?
so this
Yes. So
jacket right
these are
now
just
is.
set up as a matrix product,
Hmm.
right? Are you leveraging matrix products today inside of NetSuite?
Not yet.
Oh, perfect. This is going to be a great example then. So we have our parent item that's created, and then we have additional options that are assigned to this product. So if I look here, I can see that, yep, this is my parent matrix product. If I go over to the accounting side, I do see my matrix item. So here's my template. I have these two options, color and size. These are just lists. And if you actually go through and you want to create matrix products, there is something called a matrix assistant, where it'll
Hmm.
walk you through all the steps to be able to facilitate that, right?
Great.
To be able to easily create this. So you don't have to just create a list separately and then try and figure out how to apply it. Very simple process for making that transition over. And you can see that we're automatically generating all of the combinations. Also note too that we can set them to be different different in terms of visibility on the website. So if we only wanted to have 2 or 3 of the products appear, because maybe we're low on stock, we want to hold some inventory back just to make sure we still have it for some phone orders, but we don't want to have it appear in the website. Totally possible and actually very simple to do. We can even have different pricing based off of the matrix combination. For example, I was looking at I forget who it was yesterday, but I looked on your website and saw one of the products was like an ATP, and there was also it was a type of fan that had it was from the bottom, but then there was a variant on that product called
Hmm.
ATP-P, and I really wish I could remember the name of the manufacturer. But essentially, depending on that configuration, you may have different pricing available. And so if we do have the product in store or in stock and we want to display it on the website, we are able to, and we can also maintain that separation for the price levels. Does that make sense?
It does. What's the limitation on how many matrix items you can set up for one parent matrix?
Sure. Total combinations, right? So right here, we're looking at about 6 combinations. We
Hmm.
max out at 2,000.
Oh, it's way more than what we need, but perfect.
Oh, yes. Room to grow.
Hmm. Great.
Excellent. Cool. And just while we are here too, we do have this web store tab. So if I want to disable this from appearing inside of that web store, we do have this simple checkbox that'll automatically re-index the site to drop it from the web store. And we do have our descriptions here. So this description is kind of what we're seeing on the full product page. And while we're on the topic, let's just open up that jacket. Perfect. Although this may not have been the ideal example because we can also support the quantity discount. So I'll open up another product shortly that'll render that information. But we see our details page, right? So this information is coming directly from our description right inside of here.
Gotcha.
So again, we have a single location that needs to be populated to fill out this information. And again, ratings and reviews are supported in the platform. but typical B2B scenario, we're not really leveraging that. It is a checkbox though, so if we did want to enable that, actually now it is an extension. Apologies, we migrated a few things from core components to extensions just to streamline the upgrade process.
Is
But,
it, and is that
that is
is that a global or is that per item?
reviews are going to be per item, and actually you can set it so that when I click write a review, for example, I can set it so that if I am a logged in customer, I'm going to be able to write a review for a particular product.
Great.
But if I'm not logged in, I can also lock that out. And there's a whole aspect of here that's actually super powerful, because I used to work with some third-party review systems, and if I wanted to change or modify or take down a review, you pretty much had to write a thesis. It was a very involved process. Whereas with NetSuite, because it's stored directly on the item record, not only can you approve reviews before they go live on the website, you actually have full control over what that review says. So if there's profanity and you want to clean it up, totally okay. If it's a review that was negative because of a shipping issue, well, not really an issue with the product there. So we can prevent that from being displayed on the website as well. So
And
you
we
do
can
have a little bit more control. Oh,
and we can comment on the reviews as well.
not out of the box. It just indicates if it's helpful or not. This is kind of the setting, but there's no real follow-up structure that's displayed here. Although that is a good bit of feedback. Is that something that you'd be looking for?
No, I was just curious.
Okay. I have seen, again, some third-party review platforms are able to handle that. NetSuite out of the box just doesn't support that, because there's because of the way that the ERP is tied together, we want to make sure everything is copacetic. I'm sure we could do something down the line, but as of right now, that's not available.
Okay, great.
Awesome. So again, too, we do see our items and our sizes. We can go ahead and add that to cart. But the first next step I want to do before proceeding forward is actually logging in, because we'll hop back and we'll notice something kind of interesting related back to that customer segments manager that we were looking at. So when I do want to have products available to certain customers, but not to everyone, you have full control over how we're displaying that. And we can do that based off of two different ways, as I kind of showcased. We can do this on the category level, as well as individual item groups through the item collection. And with that said, what we're about to see is that when this customer signs in, I think it's the outdoor category that they don't have. Give me 1 second actually to check that, because I can bring this up for later too when we complete our checkout process. Perfect. And if I go over to the custom side, perfect. So this customer is set to only see the computer section. And you notice that outdoor category went away. So it really does provide ease of access. If I'm a customer that's only searching for a particular product line or a particular category, I can expose those categories and product lines to that customer without inundating them with products that they don't need to see. And right, when we go back to that shop screen again, you're able to still maintain that and just bring it throughout the process. There is also customer specific pricing. So let's just hop back to that customer level as well. When I am a B2B customer, I'm anticipating to have a particular price level. And when I'm looking inside of here, I do see that this price level is set to the dealer price. Is that how you're leveraging your prices today in your products? You have multiple price levels assigned on an item record?
Yes, we do.
Excellent. So that's going to be a good indication, because we can actually, this is a good product, right? Because we have our badges appearing, right, from a visualization aspect. We're really calling this out. You can also filter based on the facets. And I actually don't have my add to cart button here. Hold on. Because you can set, like right here, for example, I can set certain products to be able to be purchased or to disallow, right? So I have that add to cart button, you notice, is not there for some of the individual products. And then we can set our prices based accordingly. Perfect. This is the one we wanted. So let's actually just open up this product to showcase what we were talking about a second ago. And we'll open that in a new tab. And so as you mentioned, right, with those price levels, when the customer signs in, much like the catalog, we are able to see, right, what that dealer display price is. So I should be expecting to see the dealer price of $13.49 here, and that's exactly what we're seeing. And this is what I kind of called out as well. We do support quantity discounts. You know, if you're looking to increase the average order volume size, right?
Mhm.
Increase the number of products that are transacting through each individual order, we can incentivize them through those quantity discounts. And that's displayed right through the website. So it'll take into account those calculations. And when we've added those items to the cart, we'll be able to facilitate that.
Great.
Again, we do have a pretty robust imaging solution. I'm actually kind of impressed. So the way that a lot of products or a lot of platforms work is that you have to upload items to the individual images. And as you can imagine, that gets pretty tedious. So the way that NetSuite does it, let's just bring this up as well. I can go into the setup section inside of my website and showcase exactly how this is working. So I have my Suite Commerce site. And then under the images tab, what we're doing is we're uploading all of our products to a particular folder. In this case, it's in my file cabinet under this location. And inside of here, I do have this item identifier. This is how I'm expecting my file names to be created for those images. So as long as we're following this structure, I'm leveraging an image code, but it's pretty darn common to see something like a UPC, a SKU, things like that. If you want to identify your images that way, as long as they're uploaded into this folder in the file cabinet and they follow this file format, we're going to, as we can see from here, on the web store tab, we can automatically associate those images to the product. And the reason why this is so beneficial is we don't have to create a separate image for the thumbnail, for the product detail page, for that list page while we're navigating and browsing products, for the dynamic zoom, right? When we looked at the website a second ago and I put my cursor over it, you know, we do have this functionality where we have that zoom. You're not creating multiple images for each one of those aspects. Under the setup, we have this image resizing capability where we have a one-stop shop. And essentially, that's even better to keep it here because we don't have to worry about, oh, this product is 500 by 500, but this product image is only 320 by 320. We're streamlining that whole approach to just make it a lot more seamless throughout. Does that make sense?
It does. It's great.
Excellent. Very cool. And we can hop more into the back-end settings at a later time. I think for right now, we'll continue on forward. But just to keep in mind too, I use that image code. So if I look at the under the custom section, or sorry, Suite Commerce extensions, that's the image code that we were expecting to see. And we also have these facets that we were talking about to make sure that they are set. Clearly, a computer can't have a gender, but if we did assign a gender or another value here, we could filter and then this product would appear. So that's kind of what we were touching on earlier. Great. What I can also do right here is add it to the cart just to showcase, but this is a pretty manual process, right? Of being able to go through and navigate to the particular product. So I can go into my computers category. I have a subcategory called displays, and then I can dive even deeper. You know, if I'm a B2B customer who knows what they want, I want to just get in and get out. So I can actually leverage this quick order functionality to be able to type in my items just based off of, you know, what I'm looking for. So if I typed in like an MSI computer, that product is able to appear. So as a B2B user, this will save a lot of time. If your customers know what they're looking for, they can just quickly choose the item or search for the item, select it based off of the results, and determine the quantity to then add it to the cart automatically.
Mhm. Now I got a question on
Right? And
those.
you can still also,
I got a question on
sure.
those drilled on categories. Is that categories that we're setting up on a item like on a web store tab, or is that classes in NetSuite?
A little bit different. So these are actually the commerce categories. So
Great.
if I go under list, website, catalog, and categories. So there's
Great.
going to be one catalog per website, but then we can create multiple types of categories. And then this is actually how we're assigning in that segments manager, right? We see that this is like a commerce category, for example. I can go ahead and choose which customers are actually able to see which categories.
Great.
And then from inside of here, like if I look at the monitors, we can actually open this up and see the items that have been associated to that commerce category.
Great. That's what I was wondering, if that's separate from what we've already been setting up in our NetSuite as classes. So it's good to see.
Definitely. And also too, regarding that aspect, you are going to have a pretty streamlined approach here. Do you have an idea of how many categories you'd want to have appear on your website?
I don't have an idea. It's
Okay,
well, it's gonna be in the hundreds, but I mean, I don't have a
sure.
clear answer to that right now.
No worries. This is kind of just to give you an idea of what's going on. Figured I would ask. Cool. So we did talk about the categorization structure. Another thing too that you can also leverage. Let's get out of here. Unsave changes. That's totally fine. When we are adding products to our website, right? We have to first make sure that they're able that checkbox that we saw on the item record, right? Let's just go back to the inventory item under the web store tab. We have that display and web store component.
Mm-hmm.
What we can also do here is add the products directly. So as long as they're exposed, I can actually add additional products, search for them, or I can manipulate which one appears in what order. So if
That's
I were
great.
to save and publish this and then probably have to clear my cache because it's a demo environment, all that information will be able to be impacted without having to go through the complexities of every time going into, where did I go? Perfect. Every time going in and adding these items to that commerce category. Does that make sense?
Yeah, great. That's awesome. Good feature.
Perfect. Let's go back to our shopping cart section. And I did want to also touch on that request a quote feature. So this is what we were talking about earlier, where customers can actually kick off that process. Being able to have this is just a streamlined fashion. Again, we follow the same aspect that we were just discussing and looking at on the previous screen, like what we have with this quick order. So I can just add items to the quote. We'll add that item. Again, we can see that quantity discount display. We're trying to make sure that this is visible as much as possible to incentivize additional sales without it being too cumbersome or too intrusive throughout that process. So your customers are going to be able to see that and be able to determine, hey, I want to take advantage of this information. All right. We are also determining where those products are shipped to on the quotes, and then we can actually submit this. A good thing to note too is that this will actually hang in limbo, so that between sessions, you may have that that quote that's already started, but you haven't submitted it yet, and you may have things come up during the day. You may have someone just come tap your shoulder, hey, can you take a look at this for me? That takes 2 or 3 hours. You come back, you're already on your next task. You didn't follow up and finally submit that quote, or you were waiting for some approvals. The nice thing is that you can leave and come back and be able to continue adding and building it. Once a quote has been submitted, again, we talked about how your team would be able to take a look and pass that detail forward. So again, we're just making sure that from a holistic experience, everybody's involved in this aspect, right? From the customer being able to submit the quotes to your team being able to approve if that would be desirable, and they can send that back for the customer to complete the order, in addition to being able to just create quotes in the backend ERP, and we'll showcase this shortly in the My Account section, but to be able to see that, yes, that quote has been created for us. So a customer doesn't need to call up 24/7 to see information about their account. And we'll dive into that in just a few moments. Cool. All right. So we talked about our products. We can display inventory quantity available too. Actually, this is a solid aspect. A lot of times when we're talking about customizing what's displayed and what's not, it does get a little bit tricky. So if I wanted to, for example, include in my search functionality some additional fields, I don't have to go through a tedious process to facilitate this. I have a visualization of all the field sets that'll be exposed to that search functionality. So when I do my search, and again, I pull back my MSI product, I have the ability to search on multiple aspects, but what you'll notice here is that when I'm searching, I'm not actually displaying my price, because in those field sets, I actually remove that value. So you do have that facilitation where you don't have to create a custom extension to get some out of the box functionality that you would expect. If I want to remove something like a value that's coming in from my search functionality, it's not really relevant to the customer. That's great. We can just remove that and make it simple. Plus, we can also enhance it to pass additional values in and have them displayed. So if I added that field back, for example, it would then appear.
And that would be global for all customers?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So that's all configured inside of the website setting. And you can actually see right in here too, we have a bunch of different sections like product comparisons. If I want to evaluate between two products, we can select that, but we can also choose what details are being passed through from the item records. Right. So it's a lot more streamlined than a lot of platforms that I've worked with. And again, we have a one-stop shop. We're really leveraging NetSuite to the fullest because it's already the source of customer information for the inventory details and all those aspects. It's storing the details that we will want to have appear. Why have to go through an arduous process to get them to display when I'm just trying to do a simple product comparison? There's no code needed. Cool. And all of this information is going to be covered in a training course that's actually required to kick off the process. So I won't dive too much deeper into these sections, but you do have that functionality to take a look. And we also talked about the back order aspect, right? So when I am shopping throughout here, I can check this box to include out of stock items on the web store. If we do, take advantage of SEO traffic for our B2C customers and want to drive that to the website, if a product's out of stock, we obviously don't want to remove it from the web store because then we lose that traffic. So what we also can do is override that on an individual level. And the reason why that's important is because I may have a product that's end of life, right? Manufacturer came out with version 1, they're now on version 2. They're no longer going to be providing this item anymore. So I want to get through the rest of my inventory and then no longer sell it. But again, we have that functionality where we want to keep the products online because of that SEO traffic. If someone's searching for it, I may want to make a recommendation for how that's going to work. So we do have these out of stock behaviors that can be controlled on an individual product basis, right? Again, making sure that if we do have scenarios where it's end of life or we don't want to allow for that product to be sold. If you remember when I brought up that monitor, it said there is no stock allowed. That's a way that you can configure the messages to be able to dictate to your customers exactly what you're looking for and be able to have that displayed. And again, we're keeping track of this right on the item record. So we don't have to go between multiple systems, multiple databases. It's all right inside of here. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So we talked about the search. We talked about navigation, quantity discounts, customer specific pricing, a whole bunch of aspects. Let's talk about the checkout component here. So we're going to go ahead and we already have that item in our cart. We're all big gamers in this conversation. I know Sarah's probably the biggest gamer out of all of us. So we want to make sure to get that monitor. And we can do this in multiple ways in terms of this checkout experience, right? We have our shipping address. We have our billing address. We may want to put this all on a single page versus a multi-step checkout. And that's just a simple configuration checkbox in the back-end setting to be able to switch between the two. A lot of times for a B2B aspect, I do see customers leveraging that single page, much like the B2C. It's one of the few instances where they really do align. But if you did want to keep it separated out, like what we're seeing on the page 2, you have that functionality. And right here, from our customer record, we do have our default shipping address available. If I wanted to go ahead and change that address, you can see that I'm pulling these directly from the customer record. And I can easily modify between them. I can change them. I can remove them. Or I can even add a new address directly from here. And there's also a checkbox if it's residential. And we can make sure if it's going to be a required, if it's going to be a default shipping address. So we'll go ahead and just use the one that was already available. And once we have our shipping address selected, we do have our delivery options. So out of the box, we do support FedEx, USPS, and UPS. The biggest challenge is for LTL shipments, right? Are we doing LTLs?
Yeah, we do, but can we set fixed rates for certain items? Like if it's UPS ground, we have a fixed rate for that item?
Sure.
Or,
And
yeah,
that's all,
LTL's
again,
fixed.
configured
Yeah.
in the back-end setting. So if we went to the, I think it was under accounting, shipping items section, this is where you would go to configure all of this. And if I wanted to, let's just showcase what that looks like quickly. It's set by subsidiary. You can choose if you want it to display in web store. And that's actually what I'm doing right here. So I can utilize my integration for UPS and have that set up. It does get a little bit more cumbersome. If I want to just assign a flat rate, here we go. We're off to the races. And then boom, this shipping item is what's displayed inside of our website right now, right? That UPS 2-day air. Right. Another thing to call out too is that we do support promotion codes. So if you do want to create discounts or run campaigns, you can set that up directly inside of NetSuite. A nice thing about this omni-channel experience, because that's really the crux of the feature set, is the ability to have a one-stop shop, not only for item details, but also reporting capabilities. So if I do create a marketing campaign or a promotion and enter it in here, complete that order, I'm going to be able to run some reports, use the Suite Analytics workbook to see the effectiveness of that campaign, of those promotions, how we're leveraging the system. So really being able to maximize, not only the impact that it has for our customers, but also making sure that our marketing team is fully aware of what's going on and how effective these campaigns are, especially from a tracking purpose. We can do this throughout the process too. So this can, you don't have to do it up front. And if you forget it, you're kind of out of luck. I know IKEA does that, and it's very frustrating. So that's not an issue you'll have to worry about here. Perfect. So we also mentioned that we take terms and credit cards. By default, if a customer does not have terms set, they will only be able to pay by credit card. Versus when they do have terms, it'll expose and default the option to the invoice. We see the available balance. So I think this customer has a $25,000 limit. So we can still spend quite a bit more here to be able to complete this. What happens if I do exceed the balance? Say this total was 21,000. We'll actually get an error, and it won't allow us to move forward when we click on that next screen to continue after we review.
And that available balance is something we can hide as well?
You'd like to hide the available balance?
I'm saying, is this something we can have the option to hide or not show it based on the user's profile?
Oh, not out of the box, but that's a very, very simple customization, right? Because this is just a field coming back from the API. Essentially, what we would do is just hide this field in our extension for these two sections. And then, we would be able to see that. With Suite Commerce, there is an additional consideration because you do have the account review, which is what we'll dive into after we complete this order and then a few steps, where you wouldn't be able to hide that as of today. The reason why is the extensibility API has been wired to work with the front end entirely. We can handle the shopping experience and the checkout. The only thing that's remaining to be fully wired is the My Account section, and that's currently being worked on. But as of today, if that's a hard requirement, we would have to upgrade to Suite Commerce Advanced, where we can go directly into the source code.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, yep.
Perfect. Okay, great. If we do need to capture additional fields during checkout, we can definitely support that. I think it's up to 5 fields, will be able to be added. So if I do want to incorporate that purchase order on this sale, we can get that. We have our billing address. Since we're paying on terms, not the most important, but if I am going to mail out that invoice, it's nice to know where that's going. But luckily, again, with the omni-channel experience, I can just pay this directly, as we'll showcase in a little bit. Before we get to that step, we'll review our order and complete the checkout. So we do see our subtotal on our right-hand side. We see our shipping as well as that final total, the items available in the cart, and I can go ahead and edit this. I can edit where I'm shipping the products to or make a last-minute modification. I'm looking at this, it's the end of the day, I need to actually get this product by tomorrow. We can swap that out very easily. Lastly, we're looking at our billing address and those payment terms. Again, just making sure that everything is 100% the way we envision it for that checkout experience. And all we have to do now is place that order. What's going to happen is it's going to automatically push this into the backend system of NetSuite. So when we complete this transaction, we'll be able to see right on our customer record. Do I have him up right now? Yes. Okay. And let's look at those transactions. So here Loaded. Perfect. It's Valentine's Day. We see the amount. Excellent. And all the details that were just created on our website are now passed through everything, right? We're going in, we're able to see all the detail right from this order. We see what items were ordered, what that total was, what the shipping method was, who that customer is, how it was paid for. Oh, we're doing this on terms. Okay, so we know we need to invoice. Here's our product. We have our shipping details all brought in. Again, the biggest thing is that we're not trying to introduce complexities here. We have that single one-stop shop to handle the entire process from not only the front end order capture, but now we can act on this order. We can actually fulfill it if we have the available inventory. And you can even take that a step further if you wanted to get into the automation route with advanced order management. If you do get to, I have a multitude of warehouses where I'm storing my goods, you can set up those rules and automatically apply where the closest fulfillment item is or location is. Or if I want to focus on shipping an order complete versus individually between warehouses, that's all steps that you can take on to enhance the capability of the platform. But we already see right now it's working quite great where I can just now immediately act upon this. And as soon as that order comes in, much like the rest of NetSuite, everything we're looking at, as you just kind of saw, is in real time. You don't have to introduce those additional steps where we're waiting till the end of the day for the orders to batch over. It's all seamless and all connected all the time.
Okay, and I've seen how you went to the customer record to find that sales order. Is there any notification that's already built into or native to where someone gets an email or goes up on a dashboard widget or a report that we could run?
Love it. Yep. So one of the things, so this is my administrator account, but I can easily set up a saved search to just track orders for that day and create that as a reminders portlet. Are you familiar with the reminders portlet?
Yeah.
Perfect. So exactly the same way, like this suite bundles is telling me that I need to update some things. Well, you know what? I can do the same thing for when an order comes in for that day. So we can have that real-time visibility directly from our dashboard. We don't have to go to that customer record. And in fact, I can even just refresh my KPIs and we see that today we have that order displayed and I can even access that order right from this main screen. It's another element of the Suite Success for Commerce implementation is that you do get this dashboard out of the box. So you don't have to configure this, but we can see even right from today, we see the average number of items. We can see how we're doing compared to this fiscal year versus last, or this month versus last. And as we get towards the end of the month, we're running a bunch of sales, that may be helpful. Or we may be noticing that, hey, we're actually trending a little bit down in terms of our average order value. What's going on? So you don't have to do that deep dive analytic research to be able to get to that point. It's all displayed proactively for you.
Okay, and how about an email?
An email to the customer or an email to your team?
To my team. So a web order has been placed, and then an email to my team, and then like they're able to click from that email to get into that order and do whatever they need to finish the processing of it.
You can definitely set that up inside of NetSuite, much like you can, throughout these processes. I know that the system's automatically going to email the customer, but for your team, you would just have to configure either a workflow or or utilize that saved search and send it to actually email out.
Yeah, we could do that.
So
I was just wondering if that was built in.
Oops, sorry?
Yep, we could do that. I was just wondering if it was built in already out the box.
Yep. We got that holistic experience for you. So just a matter of setting up the saved search to email out to a particular individual who's supposed to be receiving it. Say we have a group email for the warehouse, for example. You can definitely set that up and let them know proactively.
Great.
Perfect. Let's go back now to the account overview section. Account overview. Perfect. And so here's where we were talking about the My Account section, this omni-channel visibility into the account. But before I get in there, do you have any additional questions? I know we have about 14 minutes left, so I want to make sure that I'm giving you enough time.
Yeah. So if I have items that are available in my web store and they show up like to even a customer that's not logged in, is there like tagging on that item where if somebody does a Google search and says, I'm looking for part number such and such, and then I can get traction that way by having that set up?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Would you mind rephrasing that for me? I
Yeah,
apologize.
so if it's an item that I sell and it's available to a B2C customer that's not even logged in, or it just shows up on our web store. What I'm curious is if there's tags that I can set up within that item where, say that someone does a Google search and puts in that item number that I sell, and it would lead them to my
Oh,
page.
yeah, definitely. So we do have like meta tags, for example. Where is that inside of here? I can actually, hold on. Let's just open up the holy grail of knowledge right here. So if you ever have questions like this that you just want to see an example of, it's a great
Mhm.
resource to reference. We do have our meta descriptions and full SEO content inside of here. So this is where you can be leveraging it. This is how it would display on the website. We can go ahead and set that up directly on our item records, as well as on the website itself. So we can put these in and be able to have them appear inside of our inside of the search results. And there's a whole section for a deep dive on the SEO component, because that is so important to be able to generate that traffic and see how we can leverage that tools. Everything from creating that robots.txt file to a sitemap generator, how the images should be defined and what information is actually going to be passed through, those meta descriptions. That's how you would access all that detail.
Great.
Perfect. Any additional questions before we resume the My Account section?
No, that covers me there. Let's go ahead.
Perfect. Okay. So as we mentioned before, we do have our omni-channel purchase history. As we see that order that we placed today, it is appearing inside of here. I don't believe it's going to be cached because we haven't opened it up yet. But another feature to note too, if you're noticing the performance, this is based off of a demo environment that has no CDN. Out of the box, you can leverage Akamai Content Delivery Network. Are you familiar with CDN?
No.
Okay. Essentially, think of it like if I have a website that's hosted on this server and I'm in New York, but my customer is in California. They would then have to connect from California to New York. So that's going to add some latency. It's going to affect the user experience negatively. A content delivery network is probably one of the best ways to optimize that network traffic speed, because that CDN, that content delivery network, is a global cache of servers. So instead of just having one server that's hosting the information, the data is replicated throughout the entire network. And
Mhm.
so it'll automatically determine the closest available server to render that content. In addition, we're also caching a lot of the information that's stored on the product details, because really, we don't need to have real-time product descriptions or page titles or the images. All that will be stored inside of that content delivery network. You'll still get the real-time pricing and availability if you're displaying like your inventory, for example, but everything else will be cached to kind of expedite that process. And that's another benefit that you'd get, again, out of the box. It's not something that you would have to pay for. But
Great.
we
Makes
do
sense.
see, perfect. We do see our order transaction that came through today. So we see it's in that pending fulfillment status. If we wanted to go ahead and act on that order and fulfill that from what we were looking at before, very simple to do, as we saw. But all this information is being pulled in real time. So as soon as we click that fulfilled and fulfilled that item, we refresh the page, boom, this status would indicate that it's fulfilled or pending billing. We see where this product is going to as well. And if we do have tracking available, we'd be able to see that number right here and act upon it. Again, our payment information is available. And note too that this order is in pending fulfillment. Once it has been billed, right, that invoice has been sent out and paid, the customer will be able to then return the product, right? So an additional button would appear right here, and we could then be managing our returns for our individual items directly from inside of here, whether that return was placed online or not. And we can monitor the status of our returns as an end customer as well. And keep in mind too, with that purchase history, not all of these orders were entered online. It's coming from the back-end ERP. So when I'm looking at my customer record that we were doing before, I can have some orders that I'm just manually entering inside. But if I wanted to see what's open and available, it doesn't matter where it was placed from, we're going to have visibility there,
That's
as
great.
well as our quotes. We talked about the ones that we're creating from the website and the ones that are entered inside of the ERP. I have some of these going back from 2018. I didn't even have this demo environment in 2018. So this is one that was entered inside of the ERP and then appeared to the website. So it kind of showcases how that functionality works.
Great.
Product lists. Are you familiar with a wish list feature?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Perfect. So same kind of a concept. I see a lot of contractors leveraging this. Like I think that's what I customized this one for. Like they had different floors inside of a building, and they wanted to purchase everything together for each floor, just to keep everything separate. If I have a team of contractors doing this floor and a different team doing the second floor, just keep everything isolated for billing purposes. So really simple way to set that up. And again, we can add items to wish lists directly from the items themselves when we're browsing throughout the website. The biggest impact, though, from the B2B perspective is that account balance. And this is what we were talking about before. So hiding these aspects would require the Suite Commerce Advanced, because while we can manipulate the menu today, we're not able to customize what's going on inside of this section. Now that will change, right? Oracle does have that safe harbor statement where we say we can't sell based off of promises, and that's not what we're trying to do here. What we're trying to say is that the Suite Commerce platform upgrades twice per year. And so when the enhancements to the My Account section become available, they will be automatically applied to your account. So it's not something that we have today. It's not something that I see on a roadmap, but it is something that is being actively worked on, right? Because again, as is the nature of technology, we continue to develop, we continue to innovate, we continue to enhance. And that's all available from inside of here. One of the things to consider, though, is that if I wanted to prevent my customers from being able to make payment on their open invoices, I can just go into that role that's assigned to the customer record and remove the ability to pay invoices, and that'll automatically take away this button. Or if I didn't want to have them see them at all, we can remove that, and then none of the buttons would appear. So you do have some flexibility too in terms of, do we only want to allow for customers to view the invoices, because we know that if they're going to pay through a credit card online and it's a $10,000 order, those processing fees may be a little bit high. So we want to disable that until we get SoluPay involved and we can set up the ACH to pay that cheaper rate. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Great.
Perfect. Let's actually open this up in a new tab. Just so we can come back to the invoices after we cover the rest of the section. Pretty standard to have a detail information set up here. So we can go ahead. Again, everything is interacting with the customer record inside of the ERP. So we have full access here if I want to add an additional credit card, if I want to change my password, if I want to manage my back-end stock subscriptions. We have none right now, but if I have a product that's not available and I just want a notify me button, that'll automatically alert me via email that, hey, this product's online. Again, that's a very useful feature to have. It's personally worked for me quite a bit. To be able to leverage that, we can manage those subscriptions right inside of here. Say after we complete our purchase, we no longer want to get those notifications. Here's our one-stop shop for it. Lastly, we have our support cases. So again, omni-channel. I can be in the ERP and create a case proactively and assign it to a customer record, or I can be a customer and create a new case.
That's awesome.
So we can also sort by the different statuses. We have our types of inquiries, and we can go ahead and expand this. Again, these are just lists inside of the NetSuite system, but I can maintain that full visibility throughout the process, right? If I have questions, if I'm a customer and I submit a question, I would expect that question to then get answered. We have a full audit trail of the communication history, not just in the ERP, but also from the user experience on the back end. And that's really helpful because, again, when an employee calls in sick, they've been handling a case. That doesn't mean we can stop handling the case. No. We have to reallocate. We have to get someone else to be able to step in immediately and keep that conversation going. But because we have that omni-channel history, the customer and the rep or the customer service representative are going to be able to pick up that conversation as though nothing has changed and we're not skipping a beat.
Great. And then this type of inquiry, like if say the customer says that I want to, inquire about an order, and they select that as their type of inquiry, and then it says, and then it pulls from their records what order number you want, and they could select that order number, or is that something it can do, or is that a customization?
That would be a customization. Again, it goes back to how deep we can customize through the My Account through the extensibility API. As of right now, that just hasn't been wired. Once that is available, you can do it. But if that's a requirement today, we'd have to go to the Suite Commerce Advanced platform.
Okay, it's not a requirement. I was just wondering how far it can bring us.
Definitely. And if you are interested in diving a little bit deeper into the extensibility API, again, Holy Grail, type in extensibility, and maybe spell it right, but luckily it's using the same type of search inside of our e-commerce store. So again, I may not be the best typer, but it'll automatically recommend which results match closest. We are using Elasticsearch, which is pretty darn standard, not just on our developer site, but inside of our website too, to handle those types of discrepancies. But if you wanted to get a little bit more detail on what the extensibility API is capable of, we do have that My Account menu section as of today. So it's kind of a little bit, I would recommend that if you do have any questions, please just reach out. I'm more than happy to address some of those questions and make sure that, if what you're looking to do is feasible inside of Suite Commerce, or if we should take a look at Advanced.
Great.
But last section, again, I know we have about 2 minutes left, covered quite a bit. We can actually view and pay our invoices online. So if I wanted to, I can take some partial payments and be able to proceed forward, act directly on those outstanding invoices. I can pay multiple invoices at once. Again, we want to determine the amount of money to pay for that individual one. So if I do have all of these selected on my page, right, so I brought up the invoice, we can see all of the times that I've impacted that individual invoice right here. We can see where that invoice was created from. So again, customers can have a really seamless approach to understand where these invoices are coming. I can go ahead and make and modify that payment and facilitate that final transaction. And again, once we do move forward with an implementation out of the box, we'll have it available by credit card. I talked about how you can disable that functionality just from a user role, right? If you're familiar inside of backend of NetSuite, under setup, users and roles, you would just have to configure the role associated with that customer, and then boom, they would not have that access. So we've covered quite a bit of detail here, right? We've talked a lot about the shopping experience. We talked about catalog segmentation, customer-specific pricing, the ability to search, quick order, add items to quote, maintain reviews, see the product details. We brought over to the other side, once we completed that transaction, we showcased how those KPIs are updating in real time. We talked a little bit about some of the enhancements you can make there that are just out of the box configurations inside of NetSuite. And then we took a look at the My Account section to really be able to get that omni-channel holistic view of the platform. So I know we're at the top of the hour, but I don't have a hard stop. Do you have any additional questions that you may be considering after what we just went through today?
I think you covered a lot of the aspects that I wanted to see, and that answers a lot of questions for me. I did record this, and I want to show it to Mike and Jamie and see if they have any questions that they can send you. But I think you did a good job, and I'm pretty excited about what this can take us.
Awesome. Well, glad to hear it. And yeah, if you do think of anything after the fact, please know that we're ready, willing, and able to address any and all concerns, or help solution out some potential ways to achieve what you're going for. So Raymond, really, really appreciate you making the time today, sir.
Great, thank you. I appreciate you guys too as well.
And Raymond, what is your timeline sort of looking like from here?
So I think the timeline looks like we want to get it up and running for our supply subsidiary. So I think if we just keep on going through you guys' process, that I mean, we don't have a hard date. I know the sooner the better, but we don't have to like do any rushes or expediteds to get us running. We can kind of go through the process of the standard of getting us online.
Gotcha. And Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, but after Raymond comes back with any questions and has had the ability for the team to view the demo, would we just move on to a scoping call, just one more meeting, and then they should have all their information?
Yeah, so it's called an alignment call. We're just aligning the leading practices to the conversation we had before when we learned about the business. And there may be a few clarifications, but I think based on Raymond, how you described the scenario, how we're dealing with a single website, it's going to streamline a lot of aspects.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just go through. We schedule an hour. I cover the first half of the presentation, essentially just having that document in front of me, while everybody else from your team, including key decision makers, are on the line. We're able to bring that up in discussion, reaffirm the approach I like to call it as measure twice, cut once. And then once we've reaffirmed everything, things like how we're handling out of stock orders, how we're handling the web store audience, things of that nature, we have a professional services who's going to be on the line keeping track of those answers and just validating. So that way we can make sure that we have a blueprint ready to go for the implementation, essentially making sure that we're going to deliver exactly what we've discussed. The next part of the conversation is the implementation aspect. So it talks about the 30-day implementation, what you can expect during that time frame, what's actually going on, as well as resource requirements. How much time is it going to take from your side to be able to get this up and running? From there, if we haven't identified any additional phase 2 customizations, there won't even be a scope of work. It's just directly from that estimate. If there are customizations that were needed or that are needed for go live, we'll be able to scope that out and create a separate SOW for that and send that over to your way. Or you can defer those customizations to a later time. Say we want to start generating some ROI immediately. You can definitely go that route. The platform's super scalable and we have access to all the tools. It's just a matter of timing and what your priorities are, right? What you want to focus on. Does that help give an idea in terms of the next steps?
Yeah, that's very clear. And then, yeah, sounds good. Sarah, do you have some? Um, so the pricing that you sent Michael before, is that on track to what we're doing now, or is there some adjustments there that need to be made? Or
Depending on timing, if you wanted to move forward in February, we can do a little better on the discount. But timing's a large part of it. So I think if it was going to move into March, then we would just wait and see what's different in March. But as mentioned, February is the end of our fiscal quarter. So from a timing perspective on price, it's great, but I don't want to rush you. So either way, we'll work together and figure out a good, happy mutual price for
well,
everybody.
well, I want to drive it towards the better pricing. So if we
Okay,
need to speed things along to get that better pricing, then I'm going to make sure we push that along on our side as well.
good. Okay, then I can go back and do some revision for the end of quarter and resend that to you.
Great.
All right. And then, as Sam mentioned, if you needed any further customizations that we find out later, we'll discuss those as well. But I'll get the details on implementation and when we can set up that call. So just let us know when the rest of the team's able to watch the demo and any questions they have. Otherwise, maybe I'll check in like Tuesday. Is that good?
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the plan. Sounds
Okay,
good.
great. Well, thank y'all.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Thanks
And
so much.
I'll see if I can send this recording as well.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Thanks. And thanks, Sam.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.